Virginia, if you can take me back to you as a child, what sort of a girl were you?
I was a fun, loving big sister to a little brother. I have a big brother that I absolutely love, but we used to poke fun at each other. I was a very happy child for quite a while. I had a normal childhood for quite a while. I loved riding horses. I loved climbing trees. Because I had brothers, I thought I was probably a tomboy more than I was a princess. Until I was 7, and then that's the first time that I encountered sexual abuse. It was from then on. I still connected with the horses really well, but my life just changed, and it diminished that light that was in me. And my mom has like the pre videos and the after videos, and you can see where, in my life it took a different direction at such a young age.
Are you prepared to say who abused you when you were 7?
It was a family friend. I wouldn't want to talk about that any further.
When you reflect on you as a young girl and as a teenager, would you consider yourself vulnerable? Were you a vulnerable person?
Well, considering that I was hurt pretty bad at such a young age, and I don't even think you know how to really say the words of what's happening to you. You don't understand it. I didn't understand what was happening. I didn't know what it was. I knew it was wrong. And so, from a young age, yeah, you are vulnerable. You feel dirty. You feel shameful. You feel like worthless almost. So, yeah, very vulnerable.
That sexual abuse that started as a 7-year-old, how often did you encounter that with other people?
Sometimes a daily, sometimes a weekly, sometimes it just varied. It was sporadic. I never knew it was coming, and I think I had a really hard time sleeping. I still have a hard time sleeping at night because a lot of the times it would happen at night, but you never knew when it was going to happen, so you just kind of lived on the edge.
You had an extraordinary experience in encountering this type of abuse from other people on a number of occasions, even before you met Jeffrey Epstein.
That's right. So after my life took a horrible turn at 7, I was abused until I was 11, and then I was sent away to California. My life was already downward spiral from there on out. I mean, when I talk to you about the shame and the feeling of having no control in my life, all the power taken away, I then started to rebel. So my parents didn't know how to handle me. They sent me to California to live with an auntie, and I rebelled there as well. And then they sent me back to Florida to live with my parents, and they still couldn't keep me under control. So they put me into like a place for juveniles who are out of hand. And then you get fostered out every night. And I managed to constantly run away from that place. And one of the times I ran away, I ended up in Miami, and I was abused by a man, and he owned what he calls like an escort agency, but it was that's a horrible way to call it what it was. It was a sex trafficking industry, and that's when more abuse I endured.
How old were you at that point?
I believe I was 13. I mean, the only problem I have in my life is pinpointing ages and times. Everything is just, it's so hard to exactly know. But I believe in my heart it was 13.
You escaped that sex trafficking ring to find yourself where?
Well, I was more rescued than I was anything. The police barged in one morning, and they took me out of there, and the person who did it ended up dying in jail. And then I thought, like I'd been through the worst parts of my life, I thought, as of yet. I didn't know what was around the corner. So I started trying to put the pieces of my life back together. I wanted to get off the streets. I wanted to stop running away. I wanted to stop, hurting myself. And my dad got me a job at Mar-a-Lago. I thought my life was turning around.
When you were working at Mar-a-Lago, what were your dreams? What did you want for yourself?
I loved working at Mar-a-Lago. It made sense to me for the first time in my life. I never knew what I wanted to do or who I wanted to be. And it was so beautiful. It was so serene. It was so calm. I worked in the locker room attendants, which was in the spa area. So I saw these amazing women who were massage therapists, and they just had this aura about them that they were all put back together. They all seemed like the nicest people in the world, and they were calm and they were happy. And I wanted something like that for my life. So for the first time in my life, I knew what I wanted to do. And I got a book about massage therapy and I started reading about it. I knew I was way too young to even start studying it, but I wanted to learn. I started investing my thoughts and my time into what I thought I wanted to be when I grew up.
What happened?
So I'm working at Mar-a-Lago and I'm reading that book that I was just telling you about. And I was approached by a very proper speaking English lady named Ghislaine Maxwell. And she approached me at the desk and she started talking to me about the book that I'm reading. And she just seemed very nice. And, I didn't know what she was there for at the time. I do now. But she said, I've got a person that I know who's actually looking for a traveling masseuse. And if you want, I can get you an interview with him. And I said to her, I was like, I'm not by any means licensed, or I've never, this is the first book I've read about it. So I'm not in any, I can't do this, professionally. And she said, no, don't worry about that. You just come over for the interview. If he likes you, we can get you educated. We can get you certified. You'll be a real masseuse and you'll get to travel and see the world. And she made it sound like it was a dream come true. And it wasn't.
So at that young age, you didn't think this sounds too good to be true?
No, I was gullible. I was vulnerable. And when somebody just offered you a dream, I wanted to be a massage therapist and they didn't care that I wasn't educated. And, they're just philanthropists helping people in need is what came to my head, what went through my head at first. And I ran over to the tennis courts where my dad was working. And I was so excited. I said, Dad, you're not going to believe what just happened. This really awesome lady just came up to me and offered me a job. I have to go for an interview tonight. Can you drop me off? And he was happy for me. He was really excited. So he said, yes, of course, I'll drop you off. And we got to the house, Jeffrey's house on El Brillo Way in Palm Beach. And it's big, beautiful mansion. I mean, I thought Ron Eppinger was rich, but this was wow, blown me away mansion type. And so my dad and I knock on the door and Ghislaine Maxwell answers. And, she shakes his hand and introduces herself. And she said, don't worry, your daughter's in good hands. We'll make sure she gets a ride home tonight. And thank you very much. So she didn't invite him inside. She didn't do anything like that. It was just at the door. We'll take care of her, in my own words.
When you reflect on Ghislaine Maxwell, when you first met her, was there anything about her that was worrying for you?
Not at all. Not at all. She came across as a really smart, polite, posh. If anything, she came across very posh. I can't even pretend to try to do her accent. She just, I didn't have any worries. I thought she just cared about helping people in need. And so during the first instance with them, I'm telling them my life story in hopes that they would take that into consideration when, if I get the job or not. And knowing that, this would mean the world to me if I could get a massage certificate for being a real massage therapist. And I really was hoping that they could see that, you know, I have gone through a lot at this point in my life and I really need help. And instead of them helping, it kind of ticked all the boxes for them to do what they did and get away from it. It was the vulnerability that they looked for in people.
So that's why you were targeted, you think?
That's why I was targeted. That's what made me so easy, I think, for them to use me and abuse me the way that they did.
For you to tell these strangers that you'd been abused, sexually abused in the past, that you were desperate for this job, you must have trusted them fairly quickly.
I just was pleading to the nicer side of humanity, which up to then I hadn't known much of it. And I didn't know anything about them. I mean, looking back now, obviously as a mom, I wish I could tell that child to run away and run fast, and never trust anyone inviting you to their home to offer you something amazing like that until you know who they are. You know what I mean? Like as a mom, I would have just told that girl to run, but I didn't, and I pleaded to the kinder side of human nature, and that's not what they were. They were not about that. They were after abusing me, and the abuse started almost instantly. You know, when I'm there, she's teaching me how to do the massage, so it seems legit, right? And she said the massages generally take between 1 to 2 hours. You do the back, you do the front. She grabbed one foot, I grabbed the other. She said, just mimic my moves. We're talking about the body. They're breaking the ice with me, making me feel like, oh my God, this is real. I'm actually doing it. And I'm learning, and I'm intrigued. I'm actually like, wow, you know, if I touch the foot this way, this can happen to your body, the blood flow through your heart. Like, I'm blown away. I'm loving it. And then, you know, the conversation, they start asking me about myself, who I am, how did I end up working at Mar-a-Lago, and so on and so forth. And that's when the conversation turned to, well, you know, guys, I really have been through a lot in my life, and it would mean the world to me if I did have this opportunity to get educated and become a real massage therapist. And that was, for them, the key that unlocked the door to knowing how subservient and how broken I really was.
How quickly did they act on that?
Well, so put it this way, we did the back of him, we did the back of Epstein, so we did the feet, the calves, the thighs, the buttocks, the back, shoulders, and scalp. And then when he turned over, that's when I was instructed to get undressed and have sex with Jeffrey Epstein while Ghislaine Maxwell was participating as well.
So you were abused by both of them in your very first encounter?
Yeah, both of them. I was abused by Ghislaine and Epstein, and it broke my heart. I don't mean to sound sexist in any way, shape, or form. I don't hate men. I'm not a man hater, but I expected it from a man, but I didn't expect it from a woman. And so I think that's what still hurts me the most to this day, is that, you know, as a mom, as a wife, as a sister, as a daughter, I couldn't imagine putting someone through what she put me through. And yeah, I think that's what hurts the most.
We sit here as adults, so understand that when I ask this question. But can you take me back into that room, and can you help me understand, you know, why you undressed, and now you're in a very dangerous situation, and tell me why you followed those orders?
There are so many thoughts racing through my mind when they told me to undress. There was fear, there was betrayal, there was huge anxiety. I couldn't catch a thought, you know, and as an adult, I know it's right to run, but as a kid who had been through what I'd been through in my life already, I guess the last thought that I had was, well, this is what life's about. This is all I've learned, I can't catch a break. And, I knew that they were extremely rich and powerful from the conversations we had had already up to leading to that point. And that was fearful, but more than that, it was just, this is what life's about. And in order to get educated, and in order to one day escape this kind of a life, this is what I'm going to have to do. Almost like an unnecessary evil.
So to catch a break, you had to put up with this. This is what life had taught you already by, the age of 16?
That's right. Yeah. I hadn't known it any other way. I mean, my childhood got taken from me very young, and, the patterns of abuse just continued and continued and continued, and it just, I didn't see that there could be a different way to live. I didn't know that, it's not acceptable then. I just assumed that this is what people saw me as, a toy to be passed around. I feel like I had the word victim imprinted on my forehead.
So it sounds like you were fairly resigned at that point.
Basically, I just gave up. And I just did what I was told. And it's like going through the motions. You just follow your directions and do what they tell you to do and hope that you come out alive.
Before the abuse took place in that massage room, what was your first impression of Jeffrey Epstein on meeting him?
I have to say, I was suspicious about one little thing that, and I should have caught on to it, but I didn't. I just thought it was weird. I walked through the room. So in order to get to the massage room, you have to walk through Jeffrey's bedroom, and you go around a corner, and there's this naked man laying on the table, right? And I thought, well, this is normal. This has to be normal. Massage therapy doesn't happen with clothes on, right? I didn't know that. I've never been in a massage room, so I just assumed that's okay. And he looked up, so he's laying down on his stomach, and he looked up at Guylaine, and they both looked at each other, and he gave her this grin, and she gave him back a grin, but I call it like the Cheshire smile, the Cheshire cat smile, and it was like this nod of approval almost. And, looking back on it, I know exactly what it was now, but even then I had that twinge of like, oh, that's strange, But it seemed, that fear went away because it seemed normal, the massage. She was talking to me about lotions and oils and how to, keep your lotion on your arm so you don't have to constantly keep getting the lotion. And if you do have to get more lotion, keep one hand on, the person you're massaging. And I mean, it really did seem legit. I honestly, that thought went from my mind almost immediately when the massage started. And I thought, okay, well, this is good. This is turning out the way I thought it was.
So any other impressions of Jeffrey Epstein at that point?
I didn't have any first impressions just walking into the room other than just that weird look. But these are super duper rich people, right? And I didn't know what to expect. It's not a life that I was accustomed to. And Guylaine being this posh, seemingly nice person, I just assumed that they like to help people in need. And that's what I thought. So my first impressions weren't of anything bad. I just assumed that this is how massage therapy is. And, she was teaching me what needed to be done for the interview, mind you. And she said if I passed the interview, that they would get me educated and they would train me to be a real massage therapist. So I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to follow your lead and you tell me what needs to be done. And that was my first impression. I thought this is going to be great. I'm going to get educated.
During or after their first abuse of you, did they say anything?
They did. So Guylaine left the room, and Jeffrey went he asked me to come into the steam shower with him. So you've got the shower on one side and the steam room on the other side. And it's like a marble steam room. And it had the top bench, the second bench, and the floor. And he asked me to sit lower than him so I could massage his feet in there. And while I was massaging his feet in there, this is after the abuse. So I'm already I'm in shell shock. I'm absolute in shell shock. And he says, okay, I need you to come into steam room and massage my feet. And while he's talking to me, he's like, "You did a really great job. You're going to see the world. We're going to pay you really good money. You're going to get educated." They're promising me all these wonderful things. He is at this time. And I'm not even myself at that time. I'm just a shell of a human being going through the motions of what this person's telling me and asking me to do. And then when that was over, he paid me $200. I totally disconnected. I was a shell. I wasn't there. It was like my brain just shut down, went numb, and couldn't think, couldn't process, I couldn't let myself fall to pieces or handle it in the way, if I were to be abused today, I would probably cry and kick and scream and yell and fight. But as a kid, I just went numb. And maybe it was a coping mechanism. Maybe that was my way of not being able to take it in, because if I did, I would fall to a million pieces. So, yeah, it was very numb. And then I get back home and, my parents are there and they're very excited. My dad was like, "How did it go? Did you get the job? Tell me about it." And I said, "I just need to go have a shower and I need to go to sleep." And I think that's, I think my mom kind of picked up on that a little bit. And, she was sus. She was very sus about it, the whole thing. But like I told you, it was a means to the end. And I didn't tell anybody.
Why not? Why not tell your mum and dad?
I didn't feel like I could. I didn't feel like it was a situation that I could talk to them about. And again, I went so numb. I was ashamed, and I went numb, and I just wanted to have a shower and go to bed.
What did it feel like to get paid in that moment?
Well, it was a lot of money for me. I mean, Mar-a-Lago was the highest paid job I've ever had, right? So I think I was like on $10 an hour. So for 2 hours, I got $200. So it was a lot of money, but it didn't compensate for what I had been through. It didn't make it better, put it that way. It didn't make me feel better.
Did it make you feel worse?
It made me feel worse. If anything, it made me feel cheap and ashamed. And, it was a really sad reality for me.
So, I have to ask this. Why did you go back?
It was what I had learned through my life. I had been abused that many times, and I thought, if this is what I have to do in order to become a real massage therapist, to be educated, that's just how life is, And like I said, there's so many different emotions. There's not one emotion that's just attached to it. There's fear, there's regret, there's shame, there's past abuse. There's so much that goes into just that one question. It's not an easy answer to any of it, but yeah, I went back, and I just hoped that I would become a real massage therapist and that this would be how I got it. I didn't want it to be that way, but I didn't even know I was going to be trafficked at that point. I thought it was just being abused by Epstein and Maxwell.
You give me as much detail as you like or as little as you like, but what nature did the abuse take? How did they abuse you? What did they do to you?
It was all levels of abuse. So there wasn't a part of my body that they did not abuse.
Psychologically, did they play games with you?
Psychologically was, a huge way that they abused me psychologically. They kept promising me this wonderful massage therapist certificate and a wonderful life, only if I did what they said. And I can't upset them, and I can't, it was constantly like a cat and mouse game. I was scared to upset them, especially Guylaine. Like she was like the mother hen of the girls that were brought into Jeffrey's house, and she made sure that you did exactly what she said, and you never knew what the penalty was going to be, but she just left you with that imagination in your mind of how bad it could be. So psychologically, huge. on one hand, they're promising you so much. On the other hand, they're taking so much from you, and you're bouncing off of both the emotions.
I was going to say, you know, what was the power that they had over you?
Well, the power started quite early on. I mean, during the first encounter with them, I mean, some of the first words out of their mouth was telling me who they are and how powerful they are. I don't remember when the conversation came up. It was very early on in knowing them, but Jeffrey Epstein tells me he owns the Palm Beach Police Department. And I can't remember when he tells me this again, but he told me, I know where your little brother goes to school. So, I mean, like, when you talk about psychological fear, it's not like they put a gun to my head and said, do this or die. It was these invisible chains that I talk about that kept you complacent, kept you there. And they would use that all the time against me and against other people as well. You could walk into Jeffrey's house and you'd see pictures of him shaking hands with the Pope in the pictures, or pictures of him with just world leaders that, you recognize even as a kid because they're all over TV. And so you instantly know that they're powerful people, even without even telling them, having to tell you. And then, of course, through conversation, they tell you about all these powerful people that they know, and they only work with the most elite people in the world. Jeffrey tells me he only takes on billionaires for his money-making industry. And, like that was all very early on. And I think they used that as a tactic against me. And I can only speak for myself, of course, but I saw for other people what it meant to them as well.
So how real was that feeling that you had nowhere else to go, nowhere to turn to, no one to help you?
It was literally like being in jail. You didn't look like you're being in jail. This is how screwed up it is. So you couldn't just be miserable around them, right? You are miserable. You're screaming on the inside. You're suffering so bad, to the point where, they end up putting me on Xanax. Sorry, I was trying to think of the name of it, to help combat my depression. But you're screaming on the inside, but on the outside, you have to sit there, you have to be polite, you have to smile, you have to nod, you have to do exactly what they tell you, and make sure you look happy while you're doing it, and that's the psychological damage as well that they put onto me.
So no one knows you're suffering, is what you're saying?
No, I'm not walking around, with a chain attached to me or crying. You're not allowed to do that.
Did you ever not do what you were told? Or did you actually ever see through what the consequence of that would be?
Well, see, I got pretty depressed really quick, especially being kept in Jeffrey's mansion in New York. So I was falling further and further and further down, and he didn't like that. So, it was a way of pissing him off because of my depression. And did he punish me? Not him himself, but, through other ways he did.
Can you explain what that is?
I would be trafficked to somebody who physically, mentally, and sexually abuses you to the point where you don't think you're going to live, and then you tell Epstein about it, and he sends you back. So, I mean, when you talk about punishment and pissing him off, he didn't have a heart to begin with, neither does Ghislaine, but to the point where they would do that kind of stuff to you was my idea of punishment.
So there was real fear for your own life?
Yeah. Yeah, there were times I didn't think I was going to live. And there was times I didn't want to live. I thought about suicide all the time. All the time. I thought of it as like a jailbreak, almost like a sort of freedom. And I would fantasize about just not having to live anymore. I don't know, there must have been some guardian angels on my shoulder to keep encouraging me to go on, because I have a wonderful life now, and I'm really glad that I made it here, but I suffered a lot with him.
When did the trafficking start? When did you learn that not only were you to be abused by this couple, but that they had plans for you with other people?
So I call that the training days. So pretty soon after the first incident of abuse, Epstein and Maxwell told me to quit my job at Mar-a-Lago. They wanted me to be with them constantly, and travel with them. And of course, they were promising me my massage certificate. So I was compliant for so many reasons, but I still had that idea. I had the notion in my head that they were going to at least come through with getting me a massage certificate. So pretty early on in the training days, Guylaine is teaching me how to pleasure men, how to be subservient, what to expect from men, and without getting into too much detail, because it's just not right to go into detail on TV about it. But she taught me to be exactly what a man wanted in every way sexually. And it wasn't soon after that they said, we're going to try you out on somebody else other than Epstein. And it was a huge shock. They also gave me the promise during that first time I was trafficked out, you're going to do one real massage on a lady, and then you're going to do what the man wants you to do. What you do for Jeffrey, do for this other man. And they were married. So it wasn't very long after my training period with Guylaine was over that I was trafficked for the first time. And then, after that, it just sunk lower and lower, and I started getting trafficked all the time. I mean, I was constantly with Jeffrey. I was constantly being abused by him, but I was also being sent places. I was being sent to the islands. I was being sent to New Mexico. I was being sent to, places by myself to be with these men, to be trafficked with them. And then other times Jeffrey would be there as well, and Guylaine would be there as well. So it was just, they tried to make it seem like this is just a normal part of life. They made it almost seem as if everybody in this world does this. And you can't even think for yourself when you're going through something like that. I felt like a beaten horse. I felt like a horse that just had the life taken out of him, and you just keep getting kicked to go faster and faster.
Did you start to believe that this was a normal part of life?
I did. I mean, they made it seem normal. I call it like the dysfunctional family setting. I mean, it was Epstein, and it was Maxwell, and it was me. And, we'd be watching TV and eating popcorn one second, and then the very next second, while we're still watching TV, Epstein would tell me to get undressed and tell Guylaine to, start performing sex acts on each other and on him. And we were just sitting there eating popcorn one second. How do you go from that to that? And it was a really bizarre situation, and I've tried to explain it to people, and a lot of people don't understand how strange it really was. And I know it sounds stranger than fiction, but it is. And it's the truth, and that's what happened. That's how it was. So in my mind, I was stuck thinking I'm still going to get to be a massage therapist one day. I've just got to get through this. I've just got to live through this, and one day I'll be on my own and I'll be free.
What sort of men were you being trafficked to?
I was trafficked to a lot of types of different men. I was trafficked to other billionaires. I was trafficked to politicians, professors, even royalty. So the circles that Jeffrey Epstein ran in weren't your typical setting of human trafficking, and It was the elite of the world. It was the people who run the world. It was the most powerful people in the world. And those are our leaders. Those are the people that we are supposed to look up to. It's corrupt. It's corrupt to the core.
Why do you think Epstein did that to you? And why do you think he gave you over to other men?
I think for Epstein, it was a many of reasons. It wasn't just one reason at all. It wasn't just doing it to make money or anything like that. I don't even know if he ever made money from it. In my opinion, it was to show off to his friends, to always have a bevy of girls around him. It was like, so going to a dinner party, you bring a bottle of champagne. I was the bottle of champagne, and that's who was shared with his friends. Or his people that he knew. Some of them were just acquaintances. And the other reason, and he's touched on this subject with me before, so I can use the words from his mouth, is that he used me as a form of blackmail. So, these people would owe him favors. So, there was a many of reasons that he did it. But the biggest reason in my mind was because he wanted to always have something on someone just in case he needed it.
How did he gather evidence of this trafficking? How did he enable the threat of blackmail to exist? Otherwise, it's just
the word against mouth. Yeah, exactly. No, so I got proof in New York, in his New York mansion. I don't even think he meant to bring me into this room, but we were going out of his house. We were walking out, and right before you walk out to the front door, there's this door that I never even really noticed was there. And it led to this room where he brought in, and he was talking to some of the security guards. I didn't know there's security guards in there. And there's like so many little TV monitors everywhere. Just stacks and stacks and stacks of them. And I saw my room. And I saw my toilet and where my shower was, and I saw the massage room, and I was so utterly mortified. I was like, this guy's watching me go to the toilet. He's watching everything that happens in the massage room. He's watching me in my bedroom. He's, everything's being recorded. And that's when I realized that's how he's getting away with blackmailing everybody.
So he was definitely recording. He wasn't just watching. It wasn't another of his perversions.
I believe it probably was part of his perversions, absolutely. Like I said, I don't think there's just one aspect of Jeffrey that we can explain. He's a very multifaceted man. You really have no idea who he is ever. It's Dr. Jekyll and Hyde, really. I think he did watch it. I think he did get off to it. I've seen some of his closets from wall to wall of photographs of young girls, very young girls, nude and in compromising positions. So I know for a fact he loved that stuff. But on the other end, he used it against other people. So that way they would be in his pocket and owe him favors.
Did he ever explicitly tell you who he'd blackmailed?
No. There were. I did ask questions about some of the people who came around, and why is this person coming? And I don't want to say the name because I just don't need the drama of it. But and I'd say, why is so and so coming? And he goes, because he owes me favors. So you see subtle versions of what he did and how he got away with it.
Are there any names that you're prepared to give?
I will say that I stand by my court documents. Every name that I have named publicly in my court documents are the people that abused me. And even though they all deny it, I know the truth, and they know the truth, and the truth will come out. So I'm sitting here today, I'm not out there to, put myself in any more danger than I already am. But simply put, I stand by my court documents.
And from what you say, there's evidence of it. There are recordings of it.
There somewhere there has to be. Jeffrey's got a vault, I'm sure, locked up with tons of video footage. Who knows where it is now? He's dead. But Yeah, there is mountains of evidence everywhere. That's why it's important that the media and the government work hand in hand to try to uncover who was involved to the highest level of people in our government and even in international governments.
We know Epstein's wealth was so vast. The fact that he had this fleet of planes. We've heard a lot about the Lolita Express.
Mhm.
What happened on the Lolita Express?
Everything that happened on the Lolita Express and his other planes was the same thing that happened in his bedrooms and the massage rooms, on the beach, wherever we were. The abuse did not stop because we're in the air.
Did it stop when he had a special guest on board?
No, it did not stop then either. I mean, there were times that the plane would just fly and it would be normal, but 95% of the time, there was always sex involved. Jeffrey couldn't take a 2-hour flight without having to ejaculate. Like, that's how sick this man was.
How did you live every day? How did you get on board that plane? How did you live knowing you're going off to New York or to the island or to wherever you were about to be trafficked to? You must have been a ball of dread and anxiety.
I was. I was horrified. I was sad. I was angry. I was disgusted. I was a shell, and the only way that I could cope with what I was going through was, taking Xanax. And Xanax is like an anti-anxiety tablet, but it also, it took away that feeling of anger, sadness. It made me feel numb. It was a numbing tablet, and it helped me cope with what was going on at the time.
And when we look at the levels of involvement of other people in this web, who gave Jeffrey Epstein the Xanax to give to you? Who cared for you when you were hospitalised after being trafficked to a particularly violent man? Who checked the girls for STDs? Who did all that?
These are the enablers that I'm talking about. This is why I'm saying Epstein could not have done all of this on his own. It took a lot of people involved. It took doctors, psychiatrists, gynecologists, dentists. All these people knew what was going on, hairstylists. I mean, the list goes on. I could keep going on and on and on. Drivers, chauffeurs, butlers, housemaids. It took all of these people turning a blind eye, which they weren't blind to because we were right there blatantly in front of them. They knew exactly what was going on. I mean, for God's sake, Jeffrey even lied on my admission to the hospital. He put there and he told the doctor I was born in 1982. I was born in 1983. But he took the doctor to a corner. They whispered about something, have no idea, was out of earshot, and nobody asked questions. I was a minor. The doctor's oath is to take your patient's life and care for it. He failed me on that oath. The dentists, they were complacent. They let this happen. The psychiatrists, why are you getting on Xanax at such a young age, honey? What's wrong? What's going on with you? Well, I'm being depressed because I didn't even know the word was trafficked. I called it passed around from man to man. Oh, okay, well, here you go. Take these tablets.
You told her?
Yeah. We talked. I didn't know what trafficking was then. And I think that's a huge part of educating young people today is that there is a word for it and there's a law against it and it's not okay to happen. So I thought I was just being passed around from person to person. I had no words for what was happening to me. And I think it's really important that people understand that it is a word, it is a thing, and it happens so much more than we like to admit.
Why were you admitted to hospital?
For excessive bleeding. I wasn't too sure what happened. I woke up in Jeffrey's room in New York, not in his room, sorry, in his house, in my 4th floor room. And the sheets and the bed covers were all white. And I woke up with a pool of blood. I mean, a splash of blood, like you could splash it. And I was in so much pain. I managed to like roll off the bed and onto the floor and hit the phone. The maids came up. They freaked out. They called Guylaine. Guylaine told Jeffrey, we have to take her to the hospital right now. And they took me to the hospital, and so much of it is a blur. I don't really remember what happened there. I just remember fogginess. I remember pain. I remember some doctors. I just don't remember everything. And it was a really scary time for me. And after that, then they sent me back to Florida for a few days to rest and recuperate.
Before it started again.
Before it started
What
again.
do you think was the cause of the bleeding?
I thought it was a miscarriage, but I'm not too sure. I have no idea. Because the medical reports, they lie. So how much of that can you trust? No idea.
What do you think should happen to the men who you were trafficked to?
I would feel so much better, first of all, just for acknowledgement. Acknowledge what you've done to me and acknowledge what you've done to so many other girls. Secondly, an apology. Take acknowledgement for it and be disgusted in yourself, because you should be. And thirdly, they should go to jail. They have no right walking out on the streets, okay, and being fine with who they are. They should be held accountable. They should be named, and they should be shamed. What they've done is horrific. They deserve to be locked up.
Do you think Prince Andrew should go to jail?
I mean, is he ever going to? Probably not. You know, it's really sad that we live in a civilization that we're so modern these days. I mean, there's a lot of intelligent people walking around these days, and I believe there's a lot of good in people too. But I also believe that our society is very corrupt, and, you know, I don't think he'll ever pay for what he's done to me. That's just the sad reality of it, though.
How did you learn that you were going to be trafficked to him?
I, was woken up by Guylaine in the morning and told I was going to meet a prince. And up till then, I should have known, but I didn't even know that I was going to be trafficked that night to him. And we went shopping, and Prince Andrew came over, and we talked in Guylaine's foyer, study, or living room, whatever you want to call it, in the townhouse. And then we went to Club Tramp, and he danced with me, and he's a horrific dancer, by the way, and he sweats a lot, and he smells funny. And then we get in the car, and Andrew's not in the car with us. He's in the car behind us with his security guards. And Guylaine tells me in the car that I have to do what I do for Jeffrey for Prince Andrew. And that's when I learned what was going to happen. It wasn't a shock, put it that way. I mean, I was shocked that royalty was involved, but it wasn't a shock that Guylaine and Epstein would traffic me out to yet another individual, which is what he was to me at the end of the day. He was just another individual. In my mind, I lost all respect for royalty then and there.
How many times were you trafficked to him?
3 times.
How old were you?
I believe I was 17. There's a photograph out there that's widely shared around, and on the original document, it has the date on the printed version of the photograph, which puts me at 17.
So as you know, Prince Andrew denies the allegations against him, and he says that this photo is a fake, that he was never there, and that he's not his arm, and they're not his fingers.
Oh, the chubby fingers. I know. I mean, these are the lame excuses that he keeps coming up with. I mean, these aren't his fingers, really. He knows he was there. Guylaine knows he was there. This is Guylaine's townhouse. I remember that night so well. I know he knows, unless he's abused that many girls that he can't keep track of how many. But those are his fingers. That is Andrew. This photo has been verified as an original, and it's been since given to the FBI, who now hold the original document, and they've never contested that it's a fake. And I know it's real. And he needs to stop with all of these lame excuses. We're sick of hearing it. This is a real photo.
And that was the first time you met him?
And that's the very first time I met him. The photo was taken off of one of my small yellow Kodak, the old disposable photos before we all had iPhones. So it was taken off of that. And that's a photo that I carried around from my past.
Taken by Jeffrey Epstein?
Taken by Jeffrey Epstein. And there's Guylaine Maxwell There's the flash. That's me at 17. And that's Prince Andrew with his chubby fingers.
The third time that you encountered Prince Andrew, you were trafficked to him. Were you alone with him? Was it just you and him at that time?
No, there were a lot of younger girls with us, and it was very shocking. It was hugely shocking to see these poor girls in the same situation that I was, and a lot of them don't even speak English, so I couldn't imagine what would have been going through their heads too.
And when you say younger girls, what age were they?
I don't know, because beyond they couldn't speak English, we weren't really allowed to talk to each other. That was just one of Jeffrey's many rules. But they looked young. They looked between 16 to 20.
How many young women with you that day or night?
I believe there were 8. I mean, from recollection, that's what I remember, you know.
Did you have any conversations with Prince Andrew during these encounters?
Not really. I was there to look pretty, smile, nod my head, don't make waves. You know, we were just there for show. We weren't anything important to them at all. We weren't even a human being to them. We were just another toy to be passed around. And that's what they did.
And that's what you felt from Prince Andrew, that you were a toy?
I wasn't even in the category of being a human being. I was just a toy to be used. You know, I was lower than a dog to them. You know, I wasn't even a puppy to be played with. I was just a toy. Like they just made you feel like you're not even acknowledged as being alive or there or important or cared for or worried about in any way. None of those human emotions were attached to me when I was trafficked to Prince Andrew.
What about your emotions when you learnt, after the first time that it was to happen a second time and then it was to happen a third time? What was your reaction to that?
Disgusted every time. Just absolutely disgusted. There wasn't one time that I was trafficked to any individual that I thought, oh, he's an okay guy. No, I was always disgusted that there were so many people involved in this highly organized sex trafficking operation. The surprise element just kept sinking further and further and further, and you're just, again, you almost become numb to it, numb and disgusted.
To see that photo of Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein in Central Park after Jeffrey Epstein has served time for abusing girls, what do you think when you see that photo?
I think it's 2 maniacal individuals who help each other get what they want. I mean, they're just 2 of a like mind, you know. They both love having sex with young women. And girls. They both think that they can get away with everything, that they're above society. And, for a long time, Jeffrey was. He proved it, didn't he? I mean, he didn't even serve time for what he should have served time for. I mean, he got away with 2 counts of soliciting a minor for prostitution. Listen to that sentence alone. Soliciting a minor for prostitution. How is that even a sentence? I mean, the language needs to change. How about abusing a minor and trafficking her for sex? That's what he did. And even if it happened to one victim of his, he should have been thrown away for a long time. He got away with it. So when he told me he could get away with everything, he proved it to me.
In 2010, Andrew is seen peeking around the corner from the Epstein mansion here in New York. This was a man breaking off relations with Jeffrey Epstein, apparently.
I'm sorry, I'm calling BS on that one. You don't travel halfway around the world to break up with a friend. You don't. I mean, he's an idiot for even thinking that anyone buys that story. I don't buy it. Not for 1 second. He wasn't there to break up with Jeffrey Epstein. It's just another one of his pitiful excuses. And frankly, I think the world's sick of hearing it.
What was he there for?
I wasn't there in 2010, so I can't tell you what he was there for. But I'm pretty sure the viewers can use their imaginations.
How do you respond to the palace's reaction that what you're saying is a lie?
It's expected, right? Because, of course, they're not going to admit to it. But it's also infuriating because nobody who hurt me has taken accountability in any way, shape, or form. Everyone that has hurt me has denied it. So, yeah, I'm furious about it. But then again, it's just that cold, hard fact that what can we do? What can I do? I can't go make a citizen's arrest on Prince Andrew. Trust me, I'd love to go knock at Buckingham Palace and put him in handcuffs and lock him away for the rest of his life like he deserves, but I can't do that. That's just the cold, hard reality of how bad, how deep, how dark this rabbit hole goes down.
Do you know through either Maxwell or Epstein, or can you guess how many other young women in your situation were trafficked to Prince Andrew?
I don't know, and I don't like to speculate on anything. I know it happened to me, and I know there were those victims on Epstein's Island, but I don't know how many. I mean, if they were as close as, seeing each other as much as they saw each other, then one could only assume that I wasn't the only one.
In terms of your experience with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, when did you first become aware that there were other girls? It wasn't just you, that there was a whole network caught up in this web?
Pretty early on. I mean, I started seeing the revolving girls in and out quite quickly. And during my training period, they told me I need to bring girls into him to keep Jeffrey happy. I was really crappy at it.
So how were you expected to recruit girls? What did you have to do?
So Ghislaine would try to train me and teach me how to do it. And she would say, approach a beautiful young woman. And he had a particular type of girl that he wanted, which was the girl next door. And of course, he told me and she told me the younger, the better. And you would approach them and you would ask them, you're very beautiful. Would you like to be a model? I know somebody who can get you into the modeling world. And so I really sucked because I'd walk up to a girl and I'd be like, I know this rich old dude that likes massages, but they're not your normal massages. And if you want, you can come back with me and make $200. And generally girls would just run, which is great, right? So, I mean, I feel like I've done myself justice that way. But, I mean, there were a few girls that I did bring in. And out of everything that I'm sorry for in my entire life, that's it.
How big was the pressure on you to do that?
Oh, huge. I was constantly getting in trouble for not bringing girls in. Ghislaine constantly came down hard on me. You're not doing it right. We need you to do it better. Watch me. I'll go and do it right now and show you how to do it. She was brilliant at getting girls to believe her. But who wouldn't? It's another woman. She's an older woman who looks nice and is approachable, and you immediately trust her. Because she just fits that box of you're safe with a woman. If a man were to come up and offer you something like that, you turn your head and run, right? But when a woman does it, you're automatically, oh, it must be okay. It's a woman.
They had a double act down pat, didn't they?
They knew exactly what they were doing, and they had worked long and hard to perfect it. That's why I call it the pyramid scheme. So when I was procured by Guylaine was still doing the procuring, and eventually that shifted to another girl bringing in another girl who would bring in another girl who would so on and so forth. And that's how the bevy of the revolving door came around, is because it was just that constant influx of people. And we're not just talking about here in New York. We're not, this is New York, this is Palm Beach, this is California, this is Paris, this is London, this is wherever Epstein was touching down. He needed to have girls on constant call. And I think if you look through the black book and you look through the phone numbers, you'll see in every single state or every place that he goes to, he's already got people lined up and makers making that happen, calling them, we need you here at 3 p.m. to, Jeffrey wants to see you at 3 p.m. And when Jeffrey wants to see you at 3 p.m., you've got to be there at 3 p.m. and you know what you're there for. You're not there to have a cup of tea.
Tell me about these girls. What were their backgrounds? What were their ages?
Majority of them were very vulnerable girls. I mean, I think they had Guylaine and Jeffrey had a really, I don't know what to call it, like an inkling or a sniffer. They were really good at finding the vulnerable ones, and they were great at playing on that. So a lot of their backgrounds had come from similar backgrounds to me, whether it be abuse or poverty or drugs or whatever, like a life that they'd already experienced has already been a hard life. And so of course, you offer this person a chance to become a model, a massage therapist, an actress, a personal assistant. I mean, the list goes on and on, right? And they offer you this better lifestyle, but you have to do this on the side. So, I mean, the girls ranged in all different ages. I mean, there were girls as young as 12, and there were women as old as, Guylaine was in her, 40s? So, I mean, and it didn't make sense to me because, they always said the younger the better. So I've never understood what part some of these other women had to play in it. But that's why I said there's so many sides to Jeffrey Epstein. No one will really understand this uniquely complex human being.
But you have no doubt he was having sex with a 12-year-old.
I was told by him that he was having sex with 3 12-year-olds sent by Jean-Luc Brunel.
The model agent from Paris.
The model agent from Paris.
He sent over his models, his 12-year-old models.
And Jeffrey laughed about it. He laughed. He thought it was funny. I mean, this is how sick and morbid this person is. He thought it was funny that his friend would send him 3 12-year-old girls. And, in some sick way in his mind, he thought, well, I'm paying their parents good, so we're doing them a justice by giving them money to let us abuse their children. It's mind-blowing. It is so mind-blowing that there's people actually out there that do this and think that way. And I'm glad Jeffrey's not here to do that anymore. I'm glad that that's the only way he would have stopped, is by being 6 foot under. But there are still other people out there that helped him do this. And, it's going to take an international effort. It's going to take all of us standing up and saying, is this not happening anymore?
By paying these young girls and $200 a time or whatever the figure was, did that relieve Jeffrey Epstein of guilt, or did he not care at all?
Exactly. Well, he felt like he was doing us a justice. For some of these girls come from trailer park homes, and their parents are very, very poor, and $200 is a lot of money. It is a lot of money for a kid who grows up on the streets. I mean, when I was growing up, I was a runaway, and I used to have to beg for spare change to go buy myself a donut to eat for dinner or something, so $200 to me was, you might as well have said $1,000.
How did you escape?
So it came to a point when I was 18, turning 19, and Guylaine and Jeffrey were being nice to me, which is very rare. When they're nice to you, they need something from you. And we went snorkeling on the island, and we're getting off our flippers and our suits and everything. And Guylaine and Jeffrey said they want to talk to me about something. They asked me to have a kid for them. they tried to sweeten the deal by saying you would get a monthly allowance, we would buy you a house, everything would be great, your kid would be taken care of, but you'd have to sign a form that, you know, like I would basically be signing my child over to them if I wanted to do that. You can't say no to Jeffrey and Ghislaine, right? That was one thing I already learned. So don't say no. So I said, yeah, that's okay. We can do that. But I need to get my massage certificate first, you know. So if we can do that, then yeah, down the track, sure. I knew that in there it was time to hit the road. And I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't know when I was going to do it. I just knew that I finally had it in my head. It just made sense to me all of a sudden. I need to run. I need to get out. I need to go fast. And I was going to Thailand. And I met this amazing person. And long story short, we got married in a Buddhist temple in Chiang Mai. And he took me home to move to Australia, where Australia became my home. I learned how to cook. I learned how to clean. I learned how to be a wife. My mother-in-law taught me so many amazing things about being a real person. I mean, I like to say that I died at 19 and was reborn in Australia because that was the beginning of a new era for me.
When you learned that he had died, that he was dead, what was your reaction?
Jeez, there wasn't one emotion attached to it that I couldn't catch. It was anger for him being a coward and not letting us hold him accountable. And when I say us, I mean the thousands of victims out there that deserve accountability on his end. There was sadness for that justice not being served. It felt like a part of me not died, but it felt like a part of me I'll never get that part back. I was really hoping one day I would sit in court and I would take away his freedom the same way he took my freedom away. So I was very sad for that. I was happy that he was dead and he couldn't hurt anyone else. And then the emotion went back to angry and sad and so on and so forth. So it took me, a few days to actually just look at the bright side as he's not out there hurting anyone anymore. And I just had to focus on that. Do I still get pangs of anger and sadness? All the time, all the time. But I just got to be grateful that he's not here to hurt anyone ever again.
Did you get any sense of relief when he was arrested and charged?
Okay, that was one of the best days of my life. When I tell you the excitement, I was called up by one of my favorite people in the world, and she told me, sit down. And I said, why? I'm at the markets. I'm with my mom. I'm doing some shopping. She goes, trust me, sit down. And I could tell there was something great because in her voice, she was, you could tell she was excited. I didn't know what to expect. I thought she was going to tell me she's pregnant or something, but no. She said, Jeffrey's been arrested. I couldn't just hear it the first time. Like, it didn't even sink in. It just was like, no, just say that one more time. I've really got to hear this. Jeffrey's arrested. You mean Jeffrey's actually in jail? Like, I mean, the poor lady, I had to get her, to go through everything all over again. And I was screaming in the middle of a market, Sunday markets. That's the way I felt. I was that exhilarated. It felt like that day I never thought it was going to happen. I honestly thought he was just going to continue to get away with it over and over and over again, just like he proved so many times. So yeah, it was like Christmas in July. Big time.
So how important was your role, do you think, in that happening, in terms of suing Glenn Maxwell, helping to bring pressure on the authorities to reopen the case? Did you feel a big part of that?
I feel like I was a piece of a giant puzzle. I don't think that was me who did that. I think it took a whole bunch of us who did that. It took extremely intelligent lawyers. It took extremely brave other women who came forward. It took all of us. It's like I said, when I say it's going to take an international effort to bring everyone down, it is. We only play one small part, but that part means a lot to the puzzle. You can't have a complete picture without one piece. So we all put that piece in and we can get stuff done. And, Yeah, I feel like I was a good part of that puzzle to help, but there's so many other people that did amazing things to make that happen.
What is it that drives you today, Virginia? Is it the sadness? Is it the anger?
It's a responsibility in my eyes. I mean, of course, there is sadness, there is anger, there is all of that. That'll never go away. There's scars that will never heal, ever. But to me, more than anything, it's a responsibility that I have for our generations to come. Being a mother, being a wife, being a daughter, I feel like it's my responsibility. I think it's everyone's responsibility in the world to not let our children grow up in an era where sex trafficking is the most profitable industry in the world. It's $100 billion profit a year just on human trafficking, just on modern day slavery. How is that not being talked about? How is that even happening? I mean, it's overtaken the drug trade. You can use a drug one time, get high, and then it's gone. With a victim of human trafficking, you can use that person over and over and over again.
And of course, you're a victim of people turning a blind eye, aren't you?
Everyone's turned a blind eye in the place where I was supposed to be protected, in my country where I was supposed to be protected. The justice system failed us then. I believe they're going to do something amazing for us now. I really believe in them. I believe that the New York Southern District wants to do the right thing. And I will do everything that I can do to be a part of helping them do that.
So today life is good?
Today life is great. And I'm fighting a good fight. And I implore the community to please stand next to me and help me bring down all these bad people. And if you've got somebody in your life that's doing this to you too, speak out, stand up. The times are changing as they should be. And it's a good time to start holding these monsters accountable.